Good evening, welcome to RedArmy TV. I'm delighted to be back in the hot seat tonight. We are going to be talking about the last couple of games. Looking forward a bit to this weekend's game at Hull. But joining me on the sofa, we've got Paul Burke and Mark Challiker back in the hot seat as well.
Hello, mate.
Good to see you. Good to see you. We're going to have to look back, unfortunately. We've got a couple of games to look back on. We've got Swansea and Bolton. Both away games, both probably not particularly good games. Mark, you were at the Bolton game, so we'll come to that in a bit. But we are unfortunately going to have to talk about the Swansea match. Have you seen the highlights, Paul? What were your thoughts?
Unfortunately, it was terrible, wasn't it?
It was.
3 avoidable goals, especially the penalty. Not a single challenge put in. They missed a hatful of chances. It was like a training match.
It really was.
We were abysmal.
Yeah, it really was. You've kind of taken all my notes there. You've used every line, literally word for word, what I've written down. No, we can't. We've got to pad it out a little bit, haven't we, Mark? But looking at the highlights, it did look as if we were just another one of those days where we weren't at the races. What did you think?
Sat back, invited pressure, team that can play, same as Villa.
That all?
Simple as that.
Yeah,
simple and straightforward as that.
I mean, it was disappointing not to see any challenges going in for the Swansea goals. I mean, they had the chances. They had a couple of long shots.
There was nothing, was there though? There was nothing at all.
There was nothing in terms of defence.
Nothing at all
from ourselves. No. Yeah,
they had so much space on the pitch just to pick a pass around us, and we just looked disinterested.
You took the words out of my mouth again. No, well, you're jumping ahead of me actually. Why do you think that is? Is it? I mean, obviously, there was a bit of a turn in fortunes for the Bolton game. We won that one 2-0, which is a little bit different. But again, I want to ask you what the differences were. But again, just going back to Swansea, is it a motivational thing? Is it? What do you think it is, Paul?
It had to have been a motivational thing. I mean, we'd lost 5 games on the bounce then, and the players are thinking we've lost 5. We're out of the playoffs. Season over. Let's just go out on the pitch and get it over with. And they just didn't turn up.
Yeah, Mark, do you agree with that? Anything
passion,
you want to add?
No belief and no confidence.
It seemed it to me. I mean, I put a post on our page after the result asking, have our players down tools? Have they kind of thought, well, we can't offer any more, but is that something you'd agree with, do you think?
It certainly looked like it on that performance, didn't it? Yeah, the down tools.
All wearing flip-flops.
All wearing flip-flops. It was disappointing to watch because, as we said, there was no sort of effort, urgency. There was no tackles.
Nothing at all. No. There was no get up and go, was there?
There wasn't.
It had gone up and gone.
It had gone up and gone.
It should have been at least 6.
It did look like, as we said, Swansea had chances to score more than the 3 goals that they did. It's quite ironic that the only challenge I saw put in was Shotton's challenge to give away the penalty, which is a tackle you don't want to see going in, do you really?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I mean, what was missing from the performance then, do you think?
Heart, soul, passion, belief that they want to play for the Boro.
Confidence.
And who do you think's to blame for that, Mark?
It's
a big question. It's a big question.
He's not been around for months. Come on.
No, I'm ill.
Is it something that the players should be doing themselves? Are we missing a leader on the pitch? Are we missing? Have they lost faith in Tony Pulis' management?
I was talking to a guy at Rockcliffe who's been there 20 years, and he said there's no more leaders. In his eyes, they're missing Ben, because Ben used to give him a good rollicking, and then they're missing Ledbetter as well.
Yeah.
He goes, they're all too nice now. There's no one at all that can push them.
Yeah.
Where before there was.
And we've spoken about on the show a few times. George Friend is club captain, model professional, hell of a nice guy. I mean, your missus loves him. So
not there, please.
Yeah, it's got to be said. Your missus does love him.
Everyone loves him.
You've touched there on Ben Gibson. It's not one of those. His name hasn't come up as being missing, if that makes sense, from what we've got this season. No. And it's a good point now. It's been made. It's not one we've thought of earlier on. We are missing that leader, I think, on the pitch.
Definitely.
We do miss the leader. It might be a bit of, but George was injured for Tuesday night. Mikel was made captain, and we win. The change of captain brought along a win. I know it's clutching at straws, but it happened. It was there.
Yeah.
But George was made captain before, and he couldn't do his job and be captain. And to me, he can't do the two jobs still now.
Well, one thing I've noticed and when we talked about George Friend being made captain months and months back, and we were saying, is he the right man for the job? Is he a leader? There was a lot more, in my eyes, interaction from Tony Pulis on the sidelines. So we didn't necessarily need a leader and a shouter on the pitch because we had that coming from the sidelines from Tony Pulis. Is it just me, or is he quieter? You sit near him. What's he been like? Body language last few months.
He's been quieter. Last 2 games he's been very quiet at home. Away games probably a bit more, but nothing like he was first half of the season. He was screaming first half of the season. But now you're getting these A4 sheets of paper getting written on and passed around the team.
Actually, another good point. There's a lot more of that going on rather than.
He's quieter because he's passing on more notes during the game. I mean, that's what it is.
What is it? Fish and chips, or is it something? What is it?
It's again another point that I've probably not thought of. The fact that there's still communication going on there, and a bit of leadership from the sidelines. But again, we just didn't look. And we've had this excuse week after week after week. We weren't at the races. The players took too long to get into the game. What do you think we need to start acting more on?
We have these same excuses every season. Something just needs to change, either on the pitch or behind the scenes. Something needs to happen because it's the same every year. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it.
Right, okay. Yeah. Strong words.
We've been looking for strikers for years, haven't we?
We have.
And then we go and buy them and spend a record amount, and he's done nothing.
On these strikers that have torn the league up
with
previous teams in the league, and they come to us.
That's unbelievable, scoring for fun before he came here.
He did at his previous 2 clubs. He was, yeah, definitely at Nottingham Forest and Peterborough.
Now.
I say I'm sick of it. But I won't stop supporting the Boro.
That's a very good point to make. That is a very good point. There's been a lot of.
I'll still be there.
Yeah.
I put myself through it, losing more hair and getting more grey.
And we all have.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of that on social media. I don't know if you guys have spotted it. There's maybe not so much after Bolton, but certainly through our sort of 6-game losing streak, that there was a lot of fans saying that they weren't going to renew, and a lot of fans kind of getting on the other fans' backs for that. I mean, where do you stand on that, Mark? I mean, obviously you've supported Middlesbrough a long time, like myself and Paul have.
Since I was 5-year-old.
You'll have seen good times and bad. I mean, fans are going to react like this throughout bad spells, aren't they?
They are. I mean, they're hurting, so you expect that. It's hard again. It's like money's tight.
It is, yeah.
And it's like, I'll always be there, regardless. I'll always be there. Part of the furniture now.
Yeah. Your seat's got a little name tag, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
Yeah.
Restraints and all sorts, yeah. Yeah, but we'll always be there.
Yeah.
Times like this, you just want the fans to stick together, get through it.
But you can understand the discontent, can't you?
You
I'll never slate a Boro fan for slating the club. As a fan, you've got that right.
They've sold more season tickets since Bolton than they did beforehand.
Have they really?
It was slow before Bolton, and then since Bolton.
Is that because George Friend was in the ticket office?
Must have been, yeah. Come see George.
Yeah. Surprised they didn't get through the door with our last in there.
8,500 tickets or so.
Have they really?
Yeah.
I mean, we're still short on last season's figures and things, aren't we? Yeah, and I think a lot of it's going to depend on what happens in the summer. But again, that's something we're going to come on to later on in the show. Briefly, we're coming up to sort of half time in the show, but we'll briefly touch on the Bolton game. Now, Mark, you were there. One thing I want to ask you.
Go on.
Now, I know you weren't at the Swansea game, but you saw the highlights like myself and Paul did as well. What did you see that was different at Bolton that we weren't showing at Swansea, or was it the fact that Bolton were just a worse team? Or both? Tell us both. Come on.
We turned up.
Okay, good.
But yeah, Bolton are absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. They hadn't trained for 2 weeks when we were there. Before we got there and the stadium wasn't even clean. The cleaners were cleaning the stadium as we walked in.
They have had the problems off the pitch, and it's again something we've talked about on the show, and something that
the atmosphere was so flat.
Was it? I can imagine it being really, really quite negative because of all the troubles that Bolton are going through at the moment. Yeah. But just to take things back briefly to what happened on the pitch, what did we do differently? What was positive about our performance?
We turned up. We played the game. We did things differently completely. We went forward. We passed forward. we moved forward. We pushed them. Second half was different, mind you, but first half.
They often are with Tony
And we
Pulis,
scored
aren't
2
they?
goals in the game.
And then the boy Flitch turned up and scored 2 goals.
He did. He certainly
should have been 3.
should have been 3.
Should have been his hat-trick,
really
yeah.
close one. Yeah.
Good lad.
He's certainly hit a bit of a run of form recently, hasn't he? Something we're going to come back to second half, but for now we're going to take a quick break. Join us after this. Welcome back to RedArmy TV. As we were chatting briefly before the break, we were just touching on Middlesbrough's last away game at Bolton. A win. It's a shock, but it was a win. Again, joining me on the sofa, we've got Mark Shalliker, Paul Burke. Paul, we were just talking about Fletcher and the sort of rich run of form that he's on at the moment. Can you see that continuing?
I hope so. I mean, he's only 3 goals? Is he 3 goals behind Britt now, and he's played half the games or something he has? But yes, I really do hope he keeps up the vein of form and build a team around him next season.
Hmm.
You know,
Do you know, I do agree with that, and I've said for a while, and I've said it on the show, I've said it in the stands to, I've said it to mates, anyone who listens, to be honest. There must be a player in there, and this was before he hit this run of form, and Pulis has said the same thing in an interview we gave to the Evening Gazette. He was at West Ham, he was at Manchester United, he's been at big clubs.
he was at Bolton, wasn't he?
He was at Bolton, which I didn't know actually until I heard the commentary the other day. But I'm really pleased to see that he's been given the chance and he's taken it with both hands. So is it 9 goals he's on now, or 8 goals?
9, isn't it?
9, and Britt's on 12.
12, so he's like 3 behind, yeah.
Yeah.
But minute for minute, he is our best striker.
In terms of goals per game,
Goals per game per minute.
definitely. But
Yeah.
it's not just that he offers the team. He's played on both flanks. He's come short and accepted the ball, and he's tried to get involved a bit more, which I don't think we've seen from Britt, who doesn't like to chase the ball really, doesn't like to come short.
Forward-thinking player.
Yeah.
And he moves.
And he's got the pace, hasn't he? He's got the pace, he's got the power. He knows where the goal is.
He's got quite good feet for a big fella as well, is it? I know it's a cliche, isn't good feet for a big man.
First goal was a scruffy goal, but you need players to put those in. And the second one,
Goal's a goal.
and the second one was
It was a tidy finish, wasn't it?
tidy finish. Excellent from Besic. Excellent run from Moore. Moore's best game.
I tell you what, you're inside my head
season.
tonight, mate. Yeah,
Well,
that's exactly where I was going.
You told me before we came on.
It's not even on. He's not even on the notes, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, from what I saw and from reading a lot of comments online, and I'm sure you'll tell us as well, it was Mo Besic's best game for a good long while.
Yeah.
What did he do differently to affect the game?
It's just his movement, isn't it? He holds the ball and he moves well, and he did. And he took players on, and he was all over the midfield, everywhere.
He does tend to try that though, and for me, and tell me if I'm wrong or tell me if you agree. For me, he tends to try too much.
He does, but then when he's not his day, he loses the ball.
Yeah.
Where at Bolton, he was doing what he does normally, and taking them all on and beating them all.
So was he doing it better, or was he kind of reining himself in a bit and playing the ball rather than trying too much? What was he?
He was doing it.
He was.
The way he normally does it. But I
was-
suppose they weren't as clever.
There was a glimmer of.
Yeah.
There was a glimmer of the player that was here last season.
Yeah.
Inside him, which is what.
That's been a long time, isn't it, coming?
Which is what we signed him for.
Yeah.
He's trying too hard. Is he trying to prove himself to get a move?
I don't know.
To the club.
I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what goes on inside his head. I mean, you know what's going on inside my head tonight, but I'm sure you can't tell me what's going on in Mo Besic's head.
Channel it in.
I think he's hopefully now realising and possibly listening to the atmosphere from the fans, because I know there's been a lot of fans on his back, and like I've been one of them. But I want to see him do well, and I want to see the club do well. This is again harking back to what we said first half. Going on from that, talking about a player in particular, George Friend's out for the rest of the season now. And I know he's our club captain, and he's a fantastic professional, brilliant fella. Where do you see him next season? Do you see him playing as big a part? Do you see him still at the club, Paul? What do you think?
Time for him.
The size says it all.
I've put you on the spot here because
Put me on the
if you say anything bad, you're in the doghouse tonight, aren't you?
That's who, yeah.
Do you want me to ask Mark instead?
The door will be locked. No, I'll answer it. I'll take the consequences. I think his best years are behind him. You know?
Yeah.
His best years are behind him. We've not seen the best of him now for two seasons.
I think the best season was the season we went up.
Yeah.
And the first half of the season we were in the Premier League, he was very, very good against top-level competition.
And he got an injury.
Yeah.
And since that injury, he's never been the same player.
Yeah. It does. It pains me to say it. I mean, Mark, what are your thoughts? Where do you see George Friend ending up in a Middlesbrough shirt if he does?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't think he's a championship player anymore.
At all?
No.
Not even?
No. I think he's Division 1.
Really? It pains me to say it because I really want him to do well. And I love him a bit as a bloke. You know, he loves the area.
As a person.
He's fantastic as a professional and
he gives.
But I do sort of agree in certain levels. I desperately want to see him do well.
Long, but
yeah,
it's just not there anymore.
Yeah,
he gets left behind for dead more times than enough.
He does. My mate says he runs like a velociraptor, which is a pretty spot on observation. But again, I want to see him. I want to see him bounce back. I really, really do. But whether he does or not is a different matter.
Nice to see him come back to the player he was.
Yeah,
but I just can't see it.
Yeah. So we've touched on Swansea. It was a bit of a horror show, really. We've touched on Bolton, which was much improved.
It was first half. Second half was kind of back to normal. It was kind of
sitting on our lead, weren't we?
The second half was
that's Pulis' style, isn't it? It always has been.
The second half
even when we were doing well, even before our sort of losing run, we'd always sit back.
See how many times Bricker missed the goal.
There was the chip that he missed. Yeah.
I was going to mention that.
Well up there.
I was going to mention that, and then I wasn't, and now we're back onto it. He really should have scored.
I almost caught it.
Did you really? He really should have scored.
We sat on it the second half. There was the standard Randolph world-class save that he tipped onto the bar. Amiobi looked a different player to the one we had.
Do you know there's 5 ex-Middlesbrough players playing for Bolton at the minute?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a number in one club.
Agent Wheat
got clapped off the pitch.
Did he?
Yeah.
Agent Wheater set up the first goal.
Agent Wheater. Did you come off his chin? Yeah.
But deflection.
But again, I mean, we're talking about players here that Randolph in particular. Again, where's he going to be next year? Is he going to be here? Do you think he'll go?
Premier League.
Yeah. This is page 3 of notes, guys. This is looking forward now.
I think about I really want him to stay.
I was surprised when West Ham let him leave.
Yeah.
The thing with goalkeepers is what you always tend to find, and especially people like Dimmy. You know, Dimmy came from Hartlepool. He wasn't a Premier League player that had come down.
No.
It's very, very different being a goalkeeper than being a midfielder or a defender. Because a midfielder or a defender, there's 4 spots on the team. Goalkeeper, there's one. If you're not that number 1, you have to leave and go somewhere else. Now, it's different for Randolph in this situation because he is that number 1. It's whether we're a big enough team for him, not whether he's big enough for the team.
It's keeping him.
It's keeping him. It is. So, you know, looking forwards, we've talked about Friend. We've talked about Randolph briefly. Between now and the end of the season, will we make the playoffs? Mark, what do you think?
No. No.
Do we want to make the playoffs?
No.
Why?
Not good enough. What's the point of making the playoffs, playing the playoffs, going up to the Premiership, come back down again, same as we did before? Not good enough. I haven't got the players. And if rumours are true, there's no money either, so there's no cash either. So
it's a bit of a poison chalice, really, isn't it? Because if we did reach the playoffs, and it's a long ask. It is a long ask. Don't get me wrong. You know, the position we're in at the minute, it's nowhere near as strong as it was 2 months ago.
4 points is it now? 4 points.
Yeah.
Between 6 and 7.
But if we did make the playoffs and somehow started playing attacking football and knock teams out, because it's effectively 3 knockout games, isn't it? The money we would get, hopefully, we would see that pumped back into the squad. I'm a wishful thinking.
Would you want to appeal this?
That is wishful thinking. Just to go up for the season, get the parachute payments, but. I'd like to see us get in the playoffs. I just can't see it though. Not now. Not with.
It's a stretch too far.
It's a stretch to go with 6 games. I mean, the gap's getting bigger and bigger every game. There's only 1 point now between us and Hull. We play on Saturday, and I just can't see it.
Everybody's a step ahead of me tonight. You've touched on my next question. If Tony doesn't stay, who are you going to call?
Oh God. Don't know.
Is there any names on your lips? Is there anyone you'd love to see within reason?
Not Woodgate.
Paul, anyone you fancy to take over?
Djukanovic.
Because personally, I can't see him stay. He's not been backed for whatever reason. His contract's up, and
anybody who gives us attacking football, anybody who lets us go out there and attack, not sets up in a home game, defensively minded, someone that lets us see good football. Not even good football, attacking football.
Well, you just want to see teams have a goal. If we attack and we get beat 4-3, I wouldn't be upset.
Just see us have a goal.
Yeah. Briefly, we're running out of time a little bit. We're gonna look forward to Hull. Hull are a bit of, for me, they're a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team. So it depends entirely on which Hull team turns up. Yeah. Have you got any predictions for us, Mark? What do you think the score's going to be?
Difficult game. We're slight and they're hitting the form.
We're going like that.
Yeah.
Give us a score.
I take a draw.
Take a draw.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll score? Do you think we'll score a goal at home?
Hopefully 1-1.
Okay. Paul?
I'll go out there and I'll say another 2-0 to Boro.
Another 2-0 to Boro.
Fletcher. There you go.
Nobody else.
No pressure.
No pressure. I'm not quite sure what the score will be myself. I don't. Again, it's gonna depend on which Hull turn up and which Boro turn up as well. Are we going to attack or are we going to defend? I'll go for 1-1. For now, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we'll catch you next week.